This is The Awkward Handshake, a podcast about networking, business, and what really happens in the room.
We're unpacking the good, the bad, and the awkward so you can build better connections and get paid.
Let's get into it. Dude, we went to BookCon. We survived. I survived. And we came back.
Thrived.
Story of the two most opposite people. It's like the start of a bad joke. Two opposites get on a plane, fly across the country.
I thought we were the same till we walked in.
No, I think this goes all the way back to the introvert extrovert episode. And I was like, oh, Megan doesn't realize how much extroversion she has in her. Because you were like, I'm good. And I was like, the people are draining me dry.
Or your conference. Am I convention?
On the spectrum, you go all the way convention and I go conference. And
yeah,
I mean, like,
but it was only called BookCon. We didn't know which one.
What a con. No, actually, we had a really good time, though, overall. There were a lot of takeaways.
Yeah.
There was a ton of discourse online on social media. So anyone who is halfway curious can go to Instagram or Threads and search hashtag BookCon 2026, and you will see all of it.
Watch people lose their shit.
People lost their shit in real time. That was actually highly entertaining.
It really was.
We were like in it, and then seeing other people post while you're in it is a wild experience. Just to recap, there is a thing called BookCon that had not happened, an event that hadn't happened in 6 years. They brought the event back. It's held in New York City. We were at the Javits Center. So we flew from Portland to New York, and we brought along my longtime friend and editor, the amazing Cheryl Woodruff. And then my sister met us as well, just for social reasons. And so we were in New York. For me, it was definitely half personal, half business, and also in a large part supporting you and helping you with your PDX Spellbound, which is amazing. I was rooting for you so hard the whole time. You went in, I think, more prepared, like, I'm here to build my list and find collaborators and get the market research data. And I was but I'm also here to like try to enjoy it. And then I was like, oh, the enjoyment's not going to happen. They had 25,000 tickets sold. By day 2, many of them tapped out, as Cheryl and I did. You were Xena warrior princess. I mean, you just kept going and going and going. Cheryl and I chose a bougie brunch with my sister on day 2.
It is the first time I've seen people laying face down. They were using my technique in the hallways of the convention, though.
They were literally face down.
They were literally face down in their backpacks.
Not like one person. No. Like rows of people.
Next to the window.
The wildest
It looked
thing.
like, yeah. There was some just slumped the second day. I didn't tell you, like, in the hallway. Just, like, slumped, like, somebody had, like, cut the marionette strings. And they just had, like, their hands over their faces. And I was like, oh, girl, you need to go.
Well, we discovered that your magical powers, superpowers from vending, from your embroidery kit business all those years ago, turn out to have some serious powers. Like, you've got muscles in you. Well, girl, I do not have those muscles. And I've done South by Southwest, which is intense in and of itself. And I was like, BookCon broke me.
Yeah, I thought it would break me because I hadn't been to one that big before.
There's some interesting discourse online. There's a lot of people who are trying to find the silver lining. There's a lot of people who are just like, down with BookCon. I don't know that any of them are right or wrong. It's just their opinions. But I do think that there's room for improvement in logistics. I think everybody would agree on that. The organizers from it have put out a public statement, made it all the way to USA Today. Who knew that the national stage was watching BookCon? And so they know that they have a lot of room for improvement too. But you and I really wanted to digest, more importantly, what came out of this for you and me. And the very first thing is this thread that has been stalking us through this whole season of the podcast, which is paying for access as opposed to free things and what kind of value you get out of it. And I think the reason why some people are so upset with BookCon is because we all paid for access, but what automatic value you got out of it varied very greatly depending on what level of access you paid for, and then also your level of modern convention skill set. Because with a crowd that size, there is a certain strategy. It's like it reminded me of people who go to Disney World and plan their fast passes ahead of time.
Yep.
And so apparently when they release released the reservations online, reservations were not just for author signings. They were also for panels. They were pretty much for everything. And then if you wanted advanced reader copies, which are called ARC copies, ARC, you also needed tickets and reservations for those. So the whole thing was like this flea market smash and grab melee.
Yeah, I mean, so I understand why some people were upset because they went in for a very different experience and reason than I did. I knew I was not going to stand in any line. I did not. I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but I didn't care enough to get an author signed book to stand in line for like an hour or two or three.
Same.
Didn't care. I'm going to get it from the library anyway. I didn't want to sit in any panels necessarily.
Oh, that's where we differed because I was like, yeah, I'll enjoy the exhibits. But I figured while you were running around enjoying your vending muscles, I was like, I'm going to sit in on some panels. And then I couldn't get into the panels. And I was like, well, this sucks.
Yeah. So because nothing really changed for me, like there was one meetup I didn't get to go to because we were still literally outside.
Oh, yes. We didn't even talk about getting inside. The doors opened at 10 and then we had to walk an additional 6 city blocks in New York City. We were, if you know.
To the end of the line.
To the end of the line. And if anyone knows New York and you know where the Javits is at on the west side of Manhattan, if you go up 6 city blocks and then hang a left on 41st Street, you end up at Pier 83. We were standing at Pier 83 to get in line. So we didn't actually get in until like the event had been going on for a little over an hour.
Yeah. So I missed the first kind of like meetup thing that I wanted to go to. And it didn't bother me that much. I was more upset for them if people weren't able to show up because of things out of their control. So for me, the main point was I wanted to walk the floor. And I was doing a lot of market research and a lot of networking.
Do you feel like by paying for an event, not that we haven't paid for events before, but this one was like a large event. So by paying for it, do you feel like there was all of these logistics hiccups that they had that they will fix in future versions? All of that aside, do you feel like there was more value or a value that you could get only by paying for the ticket as opposed to other events that we go to?
I know that the mindset I went in with was completely different. I am here. I have flown all this way. I have paid all this money. I have 100 business cards on me. The goal is not give all 100 business cards out, but the goal, you better not only hand out one. And so it definitely became this thing where normally I'd be like, oh, maybe I'll talk to them. No, it's fine. I'll catch them another time. This was like, no, lapped that thing 2 to 3 times every floor.
Oh my God.
Because
I made it down 1.5 aisle.
Because I was like, well, they were busy. And I was like, I'm coming back. I want to talk to them. I will snake back and see them again. And some of it too, I was watching how they interacted with people and I wanted to see that sort of stuff. So for me, it was definitely, I don't want to say that I took more risks, but I definitely had more gumption to be like, I'm going to talk to everybody that I want to talk to. Every line I got into, bathroom, whatever, I chatted everyone up around me. And some were super nice and I handed out my card. Others were like, who the hell is this woman talking to me while I'm just waiting to pee?
You even talked to the people on the airplane.
I talked to...
Girl, I really think you're an extrovert. I really do. I had my noise canceling headphones on the airplane watching really bad action movies the whole way.
Interesting.
And then if I turned my head just right, so like the little noise canceling would shift and I could hear you still talking to the people on the airplane.
We talked for a good hour and a half probably.
Okay, not that it matters entirely, but I'm just curious. You came with 100 business cards. How many were left when you were done? Because I handed out a total of 2.
I think I handed out probably around like 30, 35.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Maybe
I think that your mindset immediately shifts when you buy a ticket, and not just a ticket to a local event, but you also have to buy a plane ticket. You just without fail have to change the way you show up. It is very, very different. And I think it's different for everyone else who's there too, despite any crazy convention happenings or not.
Yeah.
It's different.
I just also do a lot of prep.
You do a lot of prep, and it was actually really, really great. And I think that's a great segue actually into our second point about BookCon, because we were talking about destination event networking. Like, what are the similarities and differences? Do you feel like you do as much pre-event prep here when we do local things, even if it's like a paid thing, as opposed to like what you did going to BookCon? I know it's a little bit different.
It's hard to equate them because they don't give the list. So BookCon had the vendor list, and I went through that sucker A to Z beforehand. beforehand and made a list and knew where they were. Local events tend not to, they'll talk about the speakers and things, but you don't get a list of like everybody who's attending. You and I have talked about how we kind of SEAL Team 6, is this worth it to go? This was kind of it on steroids.
Yes. I would agree wholeheartedly. The list was so long and I was so busy before going. I have yet to go through it. But in January, before I shared stage with other people, I researched all the other people I was sharing stage with.
Yeah.
So I would know who I wanted to make sure we connected exceptionally well in person, which has paid off afterwards because we chat. So.
Yeah. Well, and like you and I do it for all the guests who come here. You know, we do research into them beforehand, just a bit bigger. But I don't know that the prep is that much different. But I'm weird.
I don't want to say it's weird. I want to say that ideally, maybe you do more than average, but it is an activity that everyone should be doing. I mean, networking isn't just about what happens in the room. There's stuff you do outside of that room and on your own. And I'm not talking about like the coffee chats you set up afterward, like researching people, looking up what they've done, not expecting them to tell you all the answers.
One other thing I did to prep for this that I occasionally do for local events, but I have to really want it, is I found authors and companies that I wanted to talk to more. And I started the communications 2 weeks out on their socials and let them know I'm going to be coming and just like commenting on their stuff, starting a conversation so that when I rocked up to their booth, they were like, oh my God, it's you. Like, yeah, you said you were coming and here you are. And that changes the interaction than just anybody else who comes up and is like, sign my book. I want to buy your thing. I'd love to have a coffee date with you.
I love the points that you're bringing up because it gets into some points that you and I were talking about, which was market research in our takeaways. Both of us have market research as like a major thing that we were there to do.
We're nerdy.
Absolute nerds. But your market research needs are very different from my market research needs. And I think it was so smart because you are currently writing, you are selling subscription short stories to help build your launch list for the novel that's going to be published. And for you to go to this and have done all that pre-work sets you up so much further. Because when you're at the event, I mean, it was madness in there. So if you're going to actually meaningfully connect in person, because in-person connections hit differently than online ones.
Yes.
So you show up in person, it's a different level of connection, and they've already had at least one touch point from you. So it's not some like, who the fuck are you situation. So many people could learn from this and plan whatever their events are, whether they go to something and fly across the country like we did, or maybe it is local. Like I think a lot of people could practice this with their local events. The stakes are lower. It's a lot less of a lift. You're not searching through literally hundreds of vendors. I mean, hundreds. So when you go to a local event, maybe there's a speaker featured on, say, like Creative Mornings in Caitlin's group. And you're like, well, instead of just waiting to go, it's like, who are they? I mean, I do this all the time because we're nerds. And I'm like, who are they? I go to their Instagram. I go to their LinkedIn. I look at their website. I'm like, who are you? Where do you show up? I want to know who I'm going to show up to enjoy listening to. I get so much more out of what they do live. And then when you introduce yourself to them after, if you choose to, you have something more interesting to say, like, I saw that you had done whatever. It was really cool to see you do it in person here. Just that little bit sets you apart from every other person who's like, hi, can I get your email? Like you immediately are different.
The other thing too, especially, and this is why I do all of the pre stuff, is that it applies when people are vending, but it also applies when it's a speaker. You only have so much time with them because you are not allowed to be a dick and get in the way, in the vending case, of them making money. Honestly, I had a 15-minute chat with an illustrator, and it's because he had a helper and he was genuinely interested in chatting with me, but I kept an eye. If more people came, I just was like, stop, take care of him, and we can continue this if you want to, but like, I'm never going to cock block a sale, And so by doing the work ahead of time, you are being respectful of them and they notice, especially with speakers too, at the end, right? They get bombarded. And we've all seen somebody attempt to just keep their attention because they want something. They could have been building a relationship beforehand.
I mean, this was one of the top criticisms on people's social posts with other attendees, lack of situational awareness. And I know you've experienced this, I've experienced this, but you have some kind of touch point before you go. You go to the thing, the speaker finishes, afterward, the crowd is around them. All you have to do at that point, you don't even have to talk to them. You can tap them on the shoulder and be like, hi, it was so good. I'm going to follow up with you in message. And they're like, oh, thank you. guess what? You just won the whole event. You just
Yep.
won it, you know? And I thought it was so good that you did all of that and a great example for other people. You just did it, Hunger Games style.
I won.
You did. And while you were lapping it for the third time, I was having Earl Grey infused panna cotta.
Yep.
All right. You and I tallied up what kind of connections we made, just so we could also sort of tally what had happened for us. You pulled out two important ones. First of all, you hosted a meetup at this event. Bravo to you. And second of all, you had what is probably one of the best things to come out of destination events, which is the serendipity that happens when you go to these things. Like you think you go for one reason and it's always the serendipity. And I've experienced this many times at other, larger conferences like South by. You got this big time, like the motherload of serendipity. So do you want to tell us about your meetup and your serendipity?
About like a month out, they put out a call. Does anyone want to host meetups? And they had specific lists of things that they knew people would want. They knew that there would be calls for a Heated Rivalry one, an ACOTAR one, a Hunger Games one, things like that. I didn't see a cozy meetup. They didn't have any genre meetups, actually. They just had specific kind of verse meetups. And I pitched them a cozy meetup, and it was called like No Cliffhangers Allowed. And it was just a space for people to share their favorite cozy reads, readers and writers, a place to collaborate, because I knew I was going to run it like our coffee parties where I gather all their info and I share it, because a lot of the people who were coming are Instagram people. Like they have a Bookstagram account. And so I was like, what can I give them? And it would be a way to get more followers, and also they just love sharing recommendations. So if you could be in a room of people who love the same thing you do, that's worth it. And then for me on the forums, there was like, do you want to get onto my mailing list, basically? And there was a check. I held that and it was in this room and it was an oasis of quiet for them on the second day. And every person who came in was just like, I'm so happy this was here because I needed this. And it was funny because for me, I was like, it is 11 o'clock. You have had 1 hour and you are toasted. But it really meant a lot. So I kind of got to be this like oddly authority figure. And people were thanking me. Everybody ended up following me on social. They all got on my mailing list. I screenshot everything that BookCon shared, but it was clout.
It is clout because when you lead it, your relationship is always different than when you're just showing up as an attendee.
Yeah.
But I think what you were so smart to do is because you'd done all your pre-research, you didn't even need to research it. It was blatantly obvious how heavily weighted this event was for smut and romanticides. And it's like, that's fine. Like that is definitely the popular thing of the moment. I did not have a problem with it being heavily weighted that way like some people did for the event.
No.
But I would have liked maybe a little bit more diversity in genre. But like, whatever. I enjoy romanticy and smut, so I don't really care. But I love that you recognize like, wait, where are the cozies? Because that is your genre. And you made a space to help pull out the people who belong in your space.
Yeah. And then like you were talking about, like, you never know who you're going to meet. That's why I talked to literally everyone in every line I stood in, because I've learned it's always the random meeting that is the most impactful meeting. And so I found a food stall and I texted you and you're like, no, I'm good. And I was like, we've been lapping this thing. I need food. So I took the time to like take a break. I got in line. I sat down at a table and this group of 3 came and asked if they could sit. And I was like, sure. And then I started chatting with them. And one was, her book's coming out in September. And I kind of mentioned what I did. And she wanted to know like, oh, I'm really curious. Here's my bookmark. Can you tell? Because I mentioned that like I used to vend and I've got some ideas for helping people vend. Can you tell what type of book it is from this marketing material? And so I looked it over and I took my best guesses. And she and all of her friends just kept looking at each other. And she's like, oh my God, you got it all right. And I was like, thank you. I am good at this. I am good at branding. And as we got to talking more, they mentioned that they're best friends with and a co-host with Anthony Palmini, who's the voice actor for Resand and Kingfisher in like 2 of the big romantasy books.
Big narrator.
And I don't do audiobooks, but I knew enough to know like, holy shit, Mary's gonna lose her mind. You know, they were saying like, he should really be here. And I was like, yeah, he should be. And I was like, my friend would pay that man to read the phone book to her.
Yes, I would.
And they're like, just reach out. We'll get you in contact with him. So
funny.
we've been chatting. I just put you in touch as a super connector, you know?
Yeah. And I had to explain it to my friend Cheryl, who engages in none of this material.
Yes.
I was like, I'm such a slut for voices.
And you were like, you sat down for lunch and just happened to find.
That's the way it works, though.
It is the
That's
way
the
it works.
serendipity of these things. There were some narrators in attendance, but there was no narrator track. They have huge fan followings, and they could have done more with them.
So like these people kind of represent just more friends. I made connections with people in the booths as writer friends and collaborators for things. I specifically sought out people who worked in media that I didn't. Puzzle makers, card game people, D&D. So that as my business grows, I could say, oh, we chatted last year and here's this. But the more perhaps heartfelt, meaningful ones are the people who will probably be friends as we all kind of go through the next few years of like putting books out and things like that.
Hell yeah.
And how do we help each other? And for future business opportunities, they might be guinea pigs, you know, for what I'm building.
I mean, yeah, you're building the trust muscles of developing a relationship, which is not instant. You have to have multiple touch points. And yeah, your experiences were so good. I was so happy that you had all of those. And
it was
like,
worth it.
they could have not known Anthony Palmini, and it still would have been amazing connection. It was actually really interesting because that interaction you had, because we're friends who network and talk to each other, was an additional market research touch point for me, because I went in with like two very clear things. I was like, I want to go in and get some market research validation for this convention and the number of people we know will be in attendance. I want to know what is the prevalence of audio and narration, podcasts, and so forth. And I think I expected more because Audible was a title sponsor. Weirdly, no. There was one official session that had Matt Dinneman, the author writing the very popular series Dungeon Crawler Carl, and his narrator was with him. Well, that session turned out you needed to have reservations, and it was full an hour before it started. So didn't get into that one. And then later at the end of the day, there was a panel session hosted by a couple of podcasters who have like a book podcast. And because Cheryl and I were so exhausted and I'd been shut out of more than one session by that point, I was just like, why try? And I was just like, nope, I think I want dinner at this point. But walking the amount of the event hall that I did find one vendor booth, and they were creators who make audio drama podcasts. They have 4 of them at this point in different genres. One was a rom-com, one was like a Western, one was sci-fi. Another one, I think, was fantasy. And they were very smart. They had the banners up. They had a giant QR code. So you just scanned it so you could subscribe to the podcast on the spot. And they make their money with dynamic ads. And so I was like, haha, market research validation. I've seen these in plenty of other places and spaces, but to see them on a convention floor like that was pretty cool. And I thought it was very smart for them. I was surprised that there weren't more like them there. It made me realize, oh, y'all really don't have a home. I think maybe I need to make that home for you. Mm-hmm. So that was validation that I was looking for. And it was a small point, but it was actually a pretty big point. We ended up chatting for a bit. It was really nice to chat with them. They shared so much information so quickly because so many people were walking by them because there wasn't anything to take.
Yep.
Although there was something to take. You could have downloaded every single one of those podcasts on the spot and they were free. All you have to do is sit through the dynamic ads. And so I thought that was really great. I think that there's room for more of that, but also realizing that despite Audible being as big a player as they are, that there was no like dedicated narrator track. And I just found that mind-boggling with the popularity of audiobooks. Like
there should have been a book boyfriend.
Exactly.
Booth.
And somebody posted an Instagram reel and they took a video. There's this famous narrator. I don't remember his name. He's narrated some dark romance stuff because he's got like, I mean, baser than bass voice.
Oh, I sent that one to you, yeah.
Asian guy. So he showed up to like ask a question at a Q&A and a panel. So he's just attending. He's just there. And so I was like, how many others like him were there too, though? And what a missed opportunity. So yeah, market research. And then my other really big thing was honestly reconnecting with industry people, particularly Cheryl. And so our whole goal was to wander around and catch up on behind the scenes industry gossip, which we most definitely did. And also to look at the state of publishing and where it's at and what the future potential might be. And for us, it was quite a bit heartbreaking because we both have been a part of book conventions for a long time. Mine through the library lens, hers through the publishing world, having worked for like big publishing houses like Random House. And so we have seen conventions where those publishers have an entire row. It's not a little square with a couple of shelves. I mean, we're talking like a row. And I think that BookCon could probably put those main publishers on their own floor and actually do it right. Those are our personal opinions. We're not trying to bring back the dead, but we were truly surprised that Source Books was bigger than Penguin Random House, which had been shoved together. It used to be Penguin and Random House, but now it's like all one. And Simon and Schuster was tiny, and Macmillan was also tiny. And then the other publishers that I noticed were missing, like Bloom, the romance publisher, wasn't there, and I was so surprised. So there were a lot of surprising things. So all these little bits of data that I go through the world and collect, I did see it with my own eyes, and I felt like I needed to be there to see it with my own eyes. Because if you had gone alone and told me, I would have been like, huh, what? And then I was there in person and I was like, oh my God, this is where we're at with things. So it does feel very messy. And I felt kind of bad that Indie Alley was down in the basement basically. And I was like, yeah, we need to change that. You guys need to come on up. You need to come on up a little bit. So the last thing that you and I wanted to digest was just in terms of like the actual networking events, notes and patterns that we saw. My big thing was business cards, like actual business connections were missing. So those audio drama producers, as soon as we connected, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, do you have a card? So I'd already subscribed to all the podcasts and I said, do you have a card? And they were like, no. And I was like, how do you not have something to take away? And then she said, yeah, we kind of forgot to do that. So they had sent a friend who was there to help them run their booth to like give them breaks. And they had him leave the Javits Center after having to set everything up. He had left to go get them business cards. So I gave them my card. Luckily, I'm like you, I will go through the app before it comes down and comb through and make sure I find all the people. But I couldn't believe that they didn't have business cards. I thought, wow, I should have told them, you should really listen to our podcast about networking. But that happened in another booth too. There was an author who Cheryl was talking with in Indie Alley, and she had somebody sitting next to her, and that person and I started engaging. Well, it turned out that that person was her manager, her talent manager.
Oh, wow.
And she and I had a wonderful conversation. And I was like, do you have a card? And she was like, no, I don't have any cards on me. And I was like, girl, how do you not have a card? So I gave her my card. And I thought, yeah, having something to give out is still really important. I don't assume that everyone's going to have LinkedIn in that moment.
Yeah.
I know you got some people in your meetup to connect via LinkedIn, which was super smart.
Well, I'm yes, because I may have gotten my husband a gig.
Yes.
That also came out of the meetup. Yeah. I think for me, like I talked about the directory, I think that's a big one. The other thing though that I noticed, I bought 5 books. No, I bought 4 books, was given one for free. Only one of those purchases got me on someone's mailing list.
What? Only one?
Only one.
Wow.
And I was like, you all.
Oh my God, they're not collecting
Right?
email addresses?
Exactly. That was my thought.
Oh, that's painful.
So I know that's a little bit different than like the networking we talk about, but I noticed it right away because I was like, and I'm taking market research on this, that you all don't have a post-purchase follow-through. And we have this in networking too, right? It's that you don't follow back up. So for all these people, like you said, you're going to go through the list, you're going to follow back up.
Yeah.
We flew back on Sunday. On Monday, I pulled out all the business cards and I sent all my emails that I needed to. So I think it's that follow through. It's the post-event, post-purchase thing.
Yeah, I think your note too about reading the directory is so important. Like actually look at the directory of exhibitors.
And the sneaky thing is, here's the truth. There's 25,000 people walking around. They're not going to remember you unless you happen to be, let's be honest, as memorable as myself and have an unhinged conversation with the person. But that directory lets you find all these people. You can just say, we chatted. They won't remember.
They're not going to remember.
No. So like you can be sneaky in that way, but the directory has all the information and technically you paid for it. So like use it.
You totally use it.
Make a spreadsheet, download it, like whatever. Like it's yours.
I don't think it's sneaky though, Megan, to send a message to someone and say, it was so good to see you vending at BookCon.
There you go. You didn't lie about anything.
I flew home all the way back over here and I wanted to reach out, blah, 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 blah.
I saw you were always really busy.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but I really wanted to chat. Here I am now.
It's a really good point. You paid for that directory.
You did.
I mean, the tickets, by all accounts, for the things we pay for, I felt like the tickets to BookCon, and I'm privileged to say this, were not terribly expensive for me.
No.
So
We didn't do the VIP.
We did not do the VIP. No. If you had the VIP, it was like $400 or something. Ours were not $400. But I think that to think of it in terms of they literally gave you a list.
Yep.
You could have like not flown across the country entry and still gotten the list.
I used to do that for some events.
I
I didn't pay to get in. The list would be like on the website, and I'd be like, thank you. I didn't need to go to that. You gave me the list. But yeah, I'm sneaky. You paid for it. You
It's a
might as well
value.
use it.
It's part of the value. If you have somebody like the way we did, you go with a friend, have the conversation like we did on the plane before it landed. I started out by asking you, I was like, what do you want to get out of this? And it's like, not that you didn't know already, but you finally landed in the location.
Yeah.
And if you don't have somebody to banter with, it's like maybe you take a moment to journal or write some notes in the notes app on your phone when you're alone in the hotel room that night or whatever. But before you drop into the whole event, to have reminded yourself, why am I here? Like, what is my purpose? What will make me feel like I got what I needed?
It was really helpful because I hadn't asked myself that. I was just going.
I mean, you'd already done a ton of pre-work, but doing pre-work isn't the same thing as like, this is what I'm going to get out of it.
Correct. Because then it determines the steps you take.
Quite literally. Because
All the steps.
all the steps. And there, if you took the wrong step, you'd end up in a 20-minute line to get on the elevator
Yep.
or escalator.
Or 30 minutes for the bathroom.
And
But you can still network in the bathroom line.
girl, I can't believe you were networking in the bathroom line. I'm like, this is my chance to like take a break from humans while I'm just like,
Yeah,
standing
I
in the
met a
line.
few people who were like that, and then I just left them alone. But there were some. Well, I witnessed a woman almost get her arm chopped off by the elevator, so we were all having to process that in the line.
She kept jabbing her arm to make
She
it
did.
open.
She broke the elevator.
Oh my
They had to
God.
get a technician.
Oh my God. I think BookCon as a whole, I know I will not be back. I don't know that the same is true for you.
If I go back, it'll be as a vendor, but probably not till 2028. And then I'll go with different intentions. But there are local events next year that I want to attend or vend at instead because I got what I needed for this. I know, unlike a lot of the other people in Indie Alley, not to say that they did poorly, but it was their very first event. And it is not one that I want to cut my teeth on.
That is a very expensive first event.
So expensive. I can't even imagine how many copies of books you would have to buy.
Well, I mean, to some of their credit, I know this is not the case for every indie author, but there were a lot of them posting on Saturday night that they had sold out of their book stock.
Yep.
And they were like, please come by the booth anyway tomorrow. They were letting their people know, like, I don't have anything for sale. However, we can pre-order. We have all these other things. Come, I want to talk to you.
Yep.
They were connecting with their fans. I thought it was very smart.
Yep, there are workarounds, but yeah, I know the path I want to build is a little bit more gradual. That's it for today's episode of the Awkward Handshake.
We record at Sasquatch Media Grounds in Vancouver, Washington.
I'm Megan, co-founder of Backup Design and creator of PDX Spellbound.
And I'm Mary, founder of Sasquatch Media Grounds and Sensible Woo.
You'll find links to everything we mentioned, guests, resources, and ways to connect with us in the show notes on your favorite podcast platform.
That's also where you'll get updates on where we're headed next and when we're inviting listeners like you to join us for guided networking in person and online.
Don't be passive.
Click the links, pick better rooms. We'll see you there.